Have you ever like looked at a tree
Uh,
and it just felt different? Like you were really seeing it, not just kind of glancing at it,
hmm.
but connecting with like its essence, its uniqueness. Well, that's kind of what we're diving into today with this Gerard Manley Hopkins guy. He had these concepts in Inscape and Instress. We've got some excerpts that break down these ideas, and I think they might just change how you see the world.
It's really something how Hopkins, a Jesuit priest, brought in his theological views into these ideas.
That's what I find so fascinating. It's not just about aesthetics. There's this deeper layer here. But okay, so Inscape, how would you explain that to someone who's never heard of it?
Okay, so imagine like two leaves. At first glance, they look the same, right? But look closer, and you'll see tiny variations in the veins, how the light hits them, even the texture. That's their inscape, the pattern that makes each one unique.
So like a fingerprint,
Yeah.
but for every object in the universe.
Exactly. It's not just what you see, but the inner nature, the essence, Hopkins called it, the distinctive design that constitutes individual identity.
Wow. Yeah, that's a mouthful. But it really gets to the heart of it. And what's amazing is Hopkins didn't just see this in like grand landscapes. He saw it in everything, even something as simple as a blade of grass.
Totally. And that's what makes it so interesting, because if we learn to see that inscape in the everyday stuff, it changes everything. Instead of just tree, you see this tree unlike any other.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
So, okay, we've got Inscape, the unique identity of everything.
Right.
But how do we actually experience it? That's where Instress comes in, right?
Right. Instress is that moment when you truly grasp that inscape. It's not just looking at something, it's engaging with it, feeling a connection to its essence.
In the source material, Hopkins calls it this pressure or stress. You feel it when you encounter Inscape. It's almost like a physical sensation.
Yeah, it can be powerful. And remember, Hopkins was a priest. So for him, Instress was spiritual. It was a way of connecting with the divine.
That makes it even more profound. So it's like,
Yeah.
if Inscape is the divine fingerprint, then Instress is when we recognize it, when we feel connected to something bigger.
Exactly. And that leads to Hopkins' whole view. He saw the world as a tapestry, unified, created by the divine. Every object, every creature reflects God's creativity.
Mm-hmm.
And through Instress, we can tap into that.
It's like the world suddenly has this web of meaning, and we're all part of it.
That's it. And this is where his poetry comes in. He didn't just talk about these ideas. He wanted us to feel them.
So he's not lecturing us. He's using his poetry to embody these concepts.
Exactly. And that's what we'll look at next. How he used his poetic skills to translate these abstract ideas into something we can really experience.
I'm definitely curious to hear more about that.
Yeah.
So listeners, be sure to join us for part 2, where we'll unpack Hopkins' style and how it brings Inscape and Instress to life. So we're back, and I'm still amazed at how Hopkins saw this Inscape and everything, like a fingerprint, but for its essence,
Yeah. And he thought we could actually experience that, connect with it. He called it Instress.
Right. It's like suddenly understanding the language of a tree or a cloud. But what's really cool is how he used his poetry to make these ideas come alive.
That's where his brilliance lies. He didn't just want to describe Inscape. He wanted you to feel it. And to do that, he changed how we use language itself.
Yeah, he had this sprung rhythm thing, right? From what I read, he wasn't afraid to break the rules.
Not at all. Hopkins thought traditional poetry, with its meter and rhyme, felt too artificial, couldn't capture the energy, the unique rhythms of the natural world. So he came up with sprung rhythm. It's more like how we actually speak, with pauses and stresses and changes in pace.
So it's like he's trying to capture the rhythm of life itself, almost.
Exactly. To show you how it works, let's look at Pied Beauty. One line says, "Glory be to God for dappled things." Hear how the emphasis falls, creating a wave-like motion. It reflects the dappled patterns he's talking about.
Oh, yeah, I see that. It's like the rhythm itself becomes part of the Inscape.
Right. And it's not just the rhythm. He was a master of sound, too.
I mean, all the alliteration and assonance, it's like he's composing music with words.
Exactly. The sounds create texture. They enhance the images. In Pied Beauty, there's a line, "Fresh fire coal chestnut falls, finch's wings."
Oh, yeah, that one's amazing. You can almost hear the fire crackling, the wings rustling, the leaves falling.
Right. The soundscape becomes part of the Inscape.
And then there are those compound words he uses, like dappled on, drawn from the Windhover. It's like a whole world packed into one word.
He's capturing multiple layers of meaning, and all these innovations, the rhythm, the sounds, the words, they all serve the same purpose.
To help us feel the Inscape, to have that moment of Instress where we connect with something deeper.
Exactly. And this is where Hopkins' impact goes beyond poetry. His ideas about Inscape and Instress, they've influenced artists and philosophers, even scientists. They changed how we think about perception, individuality, how everything's connected.
It's incredible that these ideas from a priest writing over a century ago are still so relevant.
They are. And his influence on other writers is clear. Like Virginia Woolf and James Joyce, they explored the inner world of characters with so much detail.
It's like they took Hopkins' Inscape and applied it to the human mind.
Exactly. Which leads to a big question. What can we learn from Hopkins today? How can we use these ideas in our own lives?
That's a great question, and one we'll explore in the final part. So join us as we discuss the lasting relevance of Hopkins' vision and how we can all cultivate a deeper appreciation for the world. Back again. It's really kind of stuck with me how Hopkins was doing so much more than poetry. He was giving us a whole new way to see things.
It really goes beyond the words themselves. Hopkins wanted us to wake up, to see the beauty, the meaning, and everything around us, to experience that instress, that connection with the world's essence.
And the inspiring part is that he didn't think this was only for poets. He felt anyone could do it, cultivate this way of seeing, this awareness of the Inscape in every little thing.
Exactly. And that's what makes his work so relevant today. We're constantly distracted. We skim the surface. We forget to truly see things. But Hopkins reminds us to slow down, to pay attention, to find that childlike wonder again.
He's giving us permission to be amazed. But how do we actually do that? How do we live with this idea of Inscape and Instress?
It starts with our perception. Instead of just glancing at things, we make an effort to really look, notice the details, what makes each thing unique. Like, next time you're in a park, don't just see trees. Look at the bark, the leaves, how the sunlight filters through, the colors, the textures.
So as we notice these details, the Inscape of things, we open ourselves up to Instress, that moment of connection, where we see the beauty in something we might have overlooked.
Right, it could be sunlight on a spider web, or wind in the leaves, or even a kind act between people. Ordinary moments become extraordinary when we see them this way.
It's like Hopkins is giving us these special glasses to see the world in high definition.
And the more we practice this, the more it affects other parts of our lives. We become more sensitive to how people interact, to art, music, everything.
So it's not just about nature or poetry. It's a whole way of being.
Yes, a more mindful way. And that's Hopkins' real legacy, I think. He gave us more than just concepts. He gave us a way to live, a way to understand ourselves and our connection to the universe.
It's powerful to realize that true beauty and meaning aren't found in distractions, but in the very fabric of existence.
So as we finish our deep dive, I hope you'll take the sense of wonder with you. Look for the Inscape in everything. Be open to those moments of interest.
Who knows, maybe you'll even feel inspired to express your own experiences through writing, art, anything, or just by sharing this perspective with others.
Thanks for joining us. Keep exploring the world with open eyes and an open heart.